Megan, it's a pleasure to have you here today with us.
Thank you.
So can you tell me, how are students getting drugs in your school?
Well, it's very easy for students to get drugs in our school, actually. You can get them from friends or, other students. They can even get them from their parents at home and bring them back to the schools. Or some students even pretend to have ADHD to get prescription drugs, and then they take those to school and distribute them among the other students. Sometimes they also smuggle in cigarettes or alcohol from their homes. And they can also get them from medicine cabinets, neighbors' houses, parties, friends of a friend, and sometimes you can even get them online if you know the right people.
Wow. So you talked a little bit about cigarettes and ADHD pills, but what other kind of drugs do kids use in school?
Well, there's a lot of different types of drugs that make it through our schools. The most common are alcohol and cigarettes. 72% say they've actually drank alcohol in school, and 46 say they have smoked cigarettes. There's also marijuana, prescription drugs, as you know. The same amount of people who smoke cigarettes are about the same amount of people who also smoke marijuana. But there's also even worse drugs, like we have cocaine and heroin. We have methamphetamine coming through the school, and we have inhalants and even ecstasy.
Wow. So how often do the kids in your school use these drugs?
Well, we don't know for sure, and it's hard for me to see them because they're usually very sneaky about it. But some kids say, about half of our students say they know of a place where you can go to get high or drink or smoke, and about half of those students also say that it's pretty easy to do that without getting caught. And so there's usually like a little spot that people usually go to and smoke and drink and get high. So it's hard to find because I'm the principal, obviously, but other students really know where it is.
Wow, well, thank you for your time. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. Shake on.
How many of your friends have been affected by drugs?
Like 5 friends. My best friend Luke, he's the one like selling me, and I use him. I especially use weed.
Okay.
And I just use him.
So, in terms of school and jobs, how has your life been affected by your drug use?
I spend a lot of money on the weed, like every day after school, and I use it a lot. I got lower grades in school. I couldn't even focus on my homework after school, so I have to drop out.
Will you return to get your GED?
Honestly, no. I have no regrets about it. Like, I really don't care about what happens in the past. I just look for future.
Okay. So how has drug use affected your physical and mental state?
It affected me different way. Weakened the immune system, and the cardiovascular conditions. And I got problem with memory conditions and attention and decision making. Yeah, it was hard time in like high school.
Mm-hmm. Wow, well, it's been great hearing your story. Thanks for talking to us today.
Thank you.
It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So as a family member, how did having a child that uses drugs and is addicted affect your daily life?
It was really just a matter of like feeling guilty. What could I have done that could have led him in a different path? And a lot of resentment, a lot of anger. Just why me? Why my family? Just a lot of unanswered questions.
So how did your family as a whole suffer financially because of your son's drug use?
Obviously, my son, in high school, he doesn't have a job, doesn't have a car. He's not really contributing for himself yet, and just money started. We'd give it to him, not knowing what he would use it for, and then it just started disappearing without us giving it to him. And our other kids, we ended up not having the money to be able to send them to soccer and piano lessons, and it's put a big strain on my husband to work more hours.
In the beginning, was it hard for you to believe that your son was addicted to drugs?
Yeah, you always think the best of your kids, and when someone tells you otherwise, it's really hard to believe that your child could do that and could be that person.
Have you ever discovered the initial reason why your son started using drugs?
He was always a quiet kid, and we didn't, think much of it, but after talking with him and getting through this whole process, it's a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression that, maybe we should have seen the signs earlier.
And how has your family and your other children suffered from your son's drug use?
For the most part, my other two children have had to grow up a lot quicker than most kids their age, just to understand the situation that our family was in, and to be part of that healing process for all of us to come back together as a family.
Well, Erica, I'm so glad that you could join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Alexis. Thanks for joining us today. So my first question for you is, what are some of the risk factors of drug use in high school?
Well, some of the risk factors are things like early aggressive behavior, lack of parental supervision, substance abuse, drug availability, and poverty, and those are all major factors that contribute to kids getting into drugs.
Okay. So what are some of the preventative actions that schools and kids and their families can take to prevent drug use?
Things that they can do to help prevent from getting into drugs is kids can help by having self-control and learning that. Parents can monitor their children more often. Anti-drug use policies are a big thing that schools can do. And a strong family, friend, and neighborhood community bond will also help kids stay away from drugs.
So can you talk a little bit more about what parents can do to help their kids?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, parents can obviously have a strong family bond with their kids and be close with their children. Obviously get involved with school and sports activities, and talk to your kids about drugs. Don't ignore the fact that they're around drugs, because they are, and it's a thing that happens. And tell your kids it's okay to say no, even if it's to their friends, because peer pressure is a very big factor. So tell them it's okay to say no.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your advice. It was great having you.
Thanks for having me.